I never thought I'd be the kind of person posting something like this, but I genuinely don't know if I handled things the right way, and I need outside perspective. I'm Daniel, 28M, and I was in a relationship with my girlfriend Sophia, 27F, for about 4 years. We met in college. She was an international student, and I was finishing my undergrad at the time. She was smart, funny, and honestly one of the most driven people I've ever met. After graduation, she got a job at a tech company that sponsored her work visa, and I stayed in the country for my master's program. We moved in together eventually, split rent, shared a pretty normal life. Nothing extravagant, just stable and comfortable. A few months ago, everything changed. Her company went under. Just like that, she was laid off, and her visa situation suddenly became a countdown clock. She was given a limited time to find a new employer willing to sponsor her, or she'd have to leave the country. And she panicked. I watched her go through something I wouldn't wish on anyone. Every day was job applications, interviews, rejection emails. She was exhausted, stressed, and honestly scared in a way I had never seen before. She really didn't want to leave. This country was her home now, and I was here too. At first, I tried to just support her emotionally. Be there. Keep her grounded. Then one night I was out with a friend, and the topic came up. He casually said something like, "Why don't you just sponsor her yourself? You've been together long enough." I didn't really think about it much at first, but later I brought it up to Sophia. She was surprised, and then immediately hesitant. She said she didn't want me to feel like she was staying only because of me, or that she was using me for residency or a future citizenship path. That really wasn't who she was, and I knew that. But I also didn't want her to lose everything she had built here. So we talked it through properly. We looked into immigration rules, spoke to a consultant, and tried to understand what sponsorship would actually mean. She did most of the research because she was the organized one between us. She kept applying for jobs too, but the urgency slowly started fading because this backup plan existed. On paper, it sounded simple. In reality, it wasn't, because at some point, I realized something I couldn't ignore. If I sponsored her, I wouldn't just be helping her stay. I would legally be taking on financial responsibility for her for years. If she couldn't work, I'd be responsible. If she needed public assistance, I'd owe the government. And I wouldn't be able to sponsor anyone else for years after. It stopped feeling like helping my girlfriend and started feeling like a permanent legal contract I wasn't emotionally ready for. And that's where everything started falling apart. One day, I told her I couldn't do it. She didn't yell. She didn't freak out. She just went quiet. Then she asked me why I changed my mind after suggesting it in the first place. And I tried to explain it as honestly as I could. I told her I cared about her deeply, and I hated seeing her suffer. But the more I thought about it, the more I felt like I was being pushed into a role where I would be responsible for her entire life situation, and I wasn't ready for that level of commitment. She looked hurt, really hurt, and she said something like, "So you were willing to offer it when it felt good, but not when it actually meant something." That stuck with me. After that conversation, something shifted between us. She became quieter, more distant, still applying for jobs, still going to interviews, but the emotional closeness we had started to fade. And eventually, her visa expired. She had to leave. The day she left, I told her I loved her and that I still wanted a future with her. But she looked at me differently. She told me that after what I said, she felt like she couldn't see me the same way anymore. That hurt more than I expected. It's been a few weeks since she left. And I won't lie, I miss her. I miss her being in the apartment. I miss cooking with her. I miss the routine of our life together. I miss us, but I also still feel like I made the right decision for myself. Some of our friends think I messed up badly. Some of them have straight up called me selfish. And online, most people seem to agree with them. I've read the comments and I get why people are angry. From the outside, it probably looks like I backed out when things got real. But I don't think it's that simple. Because to me, there's a difference between supporting someone emotionally and becoming legally responsible for their entire life situation. I never wanted her to leave. I never stopped loving her. But I also don't think it's fair to expect someone to take on a life-altering legal and financial responsibility just because they're in love. And honestly, what bothers me the most is when people say I owe it to her, or that I changed the rules. It didn't feel like that to me. It felt like I hit a point where I realized I wasn't actually prepared for what I agreed to in the moment. Now I'm just sitting here trying to figure out if I lost her because I was honest, or because I was selfish at the wrong time. Update 2. After that conversation, I honestly didn't sleep properly for 2 nights. I kept replaying everything in my head over and over again, trying to figure out the exact moment where things started going wrong. Not just the visa situation, but us. When did it shift from we're a team to we're on opposite sides of something neither of us fully understands? I kept telling myself I'd done the right thing by being honest with her. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had destroyed something I didn't fully understand how to rebuild. On the 3rd day, she messaged me again. Short, calm, almost too calm. She asked if I could come by and pick up the last of her things that were still at my place. She said she didn't want to drag it out, and it would be better to close this chapter cleanly. That word, cleanly, hit me harder than I expected, because nothing about this felt clean. When I got home, she was already there packing. The apartment felt different. Not empty exactly, but emotionally hollow. Like the place was still mine, but the life I associated with it had already been erased. We barely spoke at first. Just the sound of bags, hangers, boxes. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful, it's heavy. At one point she stopped and looked at me, like she wanted to say something but wasn't sure if she had the right to anymore. Finally she said, very quietly, I don't think you realize what it felt like, watching you go from, I'll take care of this, to, I can't do this anymore. I tried to respond, but nothing came out the way I wanted it to, because she wasn't wrong. I had started something with confidence, and then slowly backed away when I realized what it actually meant. And that's what broke her trust. Not just the decision itself, but the shift, the uncertainty, the hesitation at the worst possible point. She told me she doesn't hate me, but she also said she can't stay close to someone she now feels she has to emotionally protect herself from. That line completely threw me, because I always thought I was the safe person in her life. Now I was the one she needed protection from. After she finished packing, she stood at the door for a second longer than necessary, like she was waiting for something, an apology, a different outcome, anything. But I didn't know what to say anymore, so she just nodded and left. And when the door closed, I sat down on the floor of my own apartment and realized something that scared me more than anything so far. I wasn't just losing her because of immigration paperwork or a bad decision. I was losing her because, at some point, she stopped feeling safe with me. And I don't know how you come back from that. Final update. It's been a few weeks since she left, and I kept putting off writing this because I wasn't sure what the point was anymore. But I think I finally understand what happened. Not just legally or practically, but emotionally. She didn't just leave because of the sponsorship situation. She left because, in her eyes, I became someone she couldn't rely on when things stopped being easy. After she moved out, we exchanged a few messages. Nothing dramatic. No arguments. Just short, careful sentences like two people trying not to reopen something already broken. At one point, she said something I keep thinking about. I don't blame you for not wanting responsibility. I just needed to know I wasn't alone when everything fell apart. And I didn't have a good answer for that. Because the truth is, I was there in the beginning. I did want to help. I did care deeply. But when the reality of what I was agreeing to started sinking in, I got scared. Not of her, but of the weight of what I was taking on. The legal responsibility. The long-term commitment. The idea that I couldn't just step back if things became overwhelming. And I think that fear changed how she saw me. From her perspective, I made a promise and then withdrew it when it mattered most. From my perspective, I realized I had agreed to something I didn't fully understand emotionally, even if I understood it logically. Both of those things can be true at the same time, but they don't cancel each other out. A few days ago, she sent me one last message. She said she's okay. She found a way forward in her own country. She's rebuilding her life slowly. She wished me well and said she hopes I learn from this. Then she added, I don't think you're a bad person. I just don't think we were right for each other when things stopped being simple. I didn't reply right away, because I knew anything I said would just be me trying to fix something that was already over. So I didn't. Now I just sit with it. I still think about her almost every day. Not in a dramatic, I lost the love of my life way, but in a quieter way. Like I keep noticing empty space where she used to exist in my life. But I also understand something I didn't before. Good intentions don't always survive real responsibility. And love, by itself, isn't always enough to carry decisions that change someone's entire future. If I'm honest, I don't know if I did the right thing. I just know I did what I was capable of handling at the time. And sometimes that's the part of the story nobody really wants to accept. That you can love someone and still not be able to carry what loving them requires. That's where it ended for us.